Welcome back to Cocktails Classics. This week we're doing Donnie Darko. I'm Dylan. Joining me is Ben. And we're just two dads drinking and watching, talking about movies your dad has probably seen. And we're going full old man here. We both got our blankets on our lap. We're got a drink in hand. And we're about to give you our thoughts on Donnie Darko.
Too hot for the heater. Too cold to be not wearing a blanket.
That's how Hannah is like, it'll be like cold as shit in here, and then she has a blanket on. I'm like, you could just turn off the AC and you won't need the blanket. She's like, but I want to be cozy. I'm like, all right, that's okay. All right.
Well, our basement is always like at least 10 degrees colder than it is upstairs.
Crazy how basements work like that.
So
yeah.
when it gets to be the summer and like we have a vent like right behind me. In the wintertime, I will take the grate off and flip it and push it so that it's always open so that the heat's always coming out. And then in the summertime, I take it off and flip it and close it so that the cold air isn't supposed to be coming through. But when the air conditioning's running up here and it's already cold, oh my God, it's so bad.
If you're listening to this episode, time is running out. If you want to enter our giveaway to win one of 5 movie bundles featuring The Maltese Falcon, Rebel Without a Cause, and Cool Hand Luke in digital 4K UHD, go enter right now. April 29th is the last day to enter before we draw the winner. So head over to our Instagram at Cocktails and Classics Pod and enter. Again, that's the 29th of April. To kick things off and get everybody in the right mood, we're going to go to this week's cocktail. The Donnie Darko and Stormy.
Oh, heyo!
The real dad joke, dad puns. Here, this is awful. Dark and Stormy is 2 ounces of. I will say this: Dark and Stormy is one of those drinks that somebody owns the rights to. So this is why it is a very specific drink or a liquor. 2 ounces of Gosling's Black Seal rum, ½ ounce of lime juice, ginger beer to top, which is about 5 ounces, and then you can garnish with a lime wheel. Serve that over ice in like a Collins glass. I like a Dark and Stormy. It's kind of just like a Moscow Mule, if I'm being honest.
I didn't know it was like name specific that you had to use a certain. Everything I'd read just always said dark rum.
The Dark and Stormy is like Gosling's, I think, owns it. It's kind of like oh god, there's another cocktail that's like that. Is it the Moscow Mule?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or it's like somebody owns the I think it's the Sazerac. Or it's like somebody owns it, so it's like you have to use this exact thing for it to be considered. So I don't think like a bar can sell a Dark and Stormy without Goslings in it. Because if they do, then I think you get in trouble. But I'm sure. Sure, bars.
I'm sure they just call it something very similarly and just call it a knockoff, like a Dim and Stormy. Yeah, we were talking about this before we started recording. Something about ginger beer, just it makes my throat like itch and close up. So I don't know if it's an allergy thing or I tried Googling it. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm not a doctor. I haven't asked a doctor. I just try to avoid ginger beer and things that have too much ginger in them. So I opted to avoid this one. Just not my forte. So, if you don't like ginger beer and you want to watch this movie with something dark, just, I went with some coffee. Actually, it was pretty much like an espresso martini. Pre-mixed espresso martini. I topped that with a little bit extra coffee because there wasn't a lot left in the bottle. Then I hit it with a little extra liquor. So, very good. Feels like it fits. Very dark, gloomy. Like this movie. We'll get into it.
I love espresso and I love coffee, and I've never had an espresso martini. It's I feel like it's having its day right now too, because everyone is like, "Ooh, espresso martinis," and I'm like, "Huh." I would try one. I just feel like it's not. I don't want to make it at home first. I feel like I would want it at a bar where they're like make it good.
Yeah, I've noticed that is one. The other one that I've noticed, and I know it's because of a much more famous podcast than ours, being I don't know if you listen to Two Bears with Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura,
No, I don't.
but it was a it was a while ago. I was listening, and they were talking about they kept saying like spritz, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then when they described it, it's literally like an Aperol spritz, and I'm like, oh, I've been drinking those for so long, and now like it's a big thing, and I'm like, man, I was ahead of the curve on this one, but now, now I can't talk about it, or people are gonna think I just hopped on the spritz bandwagon.
Oh no,
Been in these streets.
Aperol spritzes. I think it might be coming downhill now, but it was for a minute like top dog. I would say,
They're so good. They're like the perfect summer drink.
and I think that's why everyone likes them because it's kind of like I just feel like people typically don't like heavy drinks. It's the same with like
Well, not in the
stouts and
summertime.
stuff.
It's
Like
the heat.
no one's, yeah, like no one's like, you know what I want right now? A stout. Give me a stout. I feel like most people will go for the lighter drink, which like the spritz is, because there's not much alcohol in there.
No, champagne, a little bit of, you know, uh, it's Aperol is what is that, an aperitif?
Yeah, which is like I don't even think it's 30%.
No. It's basically like having like a triple sec as the main liqueur in a. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's a step away from minors being able to buy it.
Whoa. I think they
That's just
can
how
buy. I think you can buy
non-alcoholic.
bitters.
That's just how non-alcoholic it is. It's
Not
like it's
not giving
not.
advice on how to drink underage. But but if you wanted to go get bitters, you could make a cocktail with bitters, the Trinidad Sour. Uh, don't cancel me.
Oh man, dad chat talking about how to drink underage. If you're listening this in the future, children, do not drink underage.
If you want to make yourself a dark and stormy, hit the show notes below. Get the recipe. Hit up the Casker links to get yourself some Gosling's dark rum, or get any dark rum. But if you don't want to get sued, maybe choose Gosling's. And let us know at Cocktails and Classics Pod on Instagram. We want to hear what you think of the cocktail. You can check out Donnie Darko as of recording on HBO Max, because we're about to spoil it, and it has kind of like a little spoilery to it. Like we might ruin the movie, so check it out, or check out the podcast.
Hey, maybe you like spoilers. People do.
Yeah,
Some people
maybe you're
are down
Cameron,
for it.
and you watch Mojo. You watch Mojo just to find out.
Maybe you start a podcast with your friends about movies that you haven't seen that you're gonna watch, and then maybe you watch like the top 10 twist endings of all time, and then you spoil movies that we could record a podcast about. Who knows? You do you.
Donnie Darko is a 2001 drama, mystery, sci-fi film. Currently sits at an 8 out of 10 on IMDb. Directed and written by Richard Kelly. It's the story of, after narrowly escaping a bizarre accident, a troubled teenager is plagued by visions of a man in a large rabbit suit who manipulates him to commit a series of crimes. It stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Jenna Malone, Mary McDonald, Maggie Gyllenhaal,
Maggie Gyllenhaal? Yeah.
Patrick
Forget.
Swayze,
Just the Gyllenhaals.
both Gyllenhaals, Beth Grant, who looks so familiar to me.
I went through her IMDb and I was like, I don't recognize anything she's done, but she looks so goddamn familiar.
And
And
I
I
don't
don't
know
know
why.
from what.
I know, I'm the same way. Drew Barrymore is in there. Seth Rogen. Who is the one teacher? Is he anybody? The other, the like
The science teacher?
Yeah.
I didn't recognize him.
Ashley Tisdale is in there for a second, along with
Jerry Trainer.
Jerry Trainer from iCarly fame.
Hot minute. He was also, what was his name? Crazy Steve or
Oh
something.
yeah, Drake and Josh.
And Drake and Josh. Basically, put in a lot of Nickelodeon shows by the feet guy.
The feet guy.
That's what I'm just gonna refer to him as.
Also, the girl who plays Samantha, the youngest Darko child, Davy Chase. She was the voice of Chichiro in Spirited Away.
She was also the girl in the well in The Ring.
Oh, Samara. I see she's also Lilo in Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah. How crazy that, like, the the voice of such a beloved children's character is also the girl who
the most terrifying.
Like, creepily crawls out of a well and tells people they're gonna die in 7 days.
Like one of the most terrifying things from our childhood.
Yeah.
But also, I think it was like the same year. Didn't The Ring come out in 2002?
I think it was 03.
No, 2002. Same year as she did Lilo and Stitch.
Was it 2002?
She did.
Wow.
Yeah, The Ring. I had seen this film. Had you?
No, this is one I feel like I've suggested before, and every time I feel like I've mentioned it, it's just kind of been like, no, that's fine. And then when you suggested it this week, I was like, oh, all right, we're gonna do it. We're gonna pull the trigger.
Yeah, this is okay. I mean this in the most non-offensive way. This is one of those movies that like film bros like love. I would say like
I was going to say this after watching this movie. It seems like a movie that like somebody who's 18 or 19 thinks they're super deep because they love it.
So I put this in the category, which don't get me wrong, thoroughly enjoyed this movie, really like it. So like these other movies I'm about to list, but I put this in the category of like Fight Club, Inception, trying to think Shutter Island, the Joker. I feel like is gonna get there eventually. Of like these like, I'm so I'm so quirky and weird because I like these movies, or I don't know, like it.
I'm so deep and also kind of edgy because I love these.
Darker.
And I get it. I get the characters in these movies. Like I associate with them, and it's
hopefully
like,
you don't. Hopefully you don't. With
you
most
shouldn't.
of them.
You shouldn't. And it's not cool to think like it's cool that you do. Like that's not cool. It just makes you sound sad when you're an adult. But it's something that like an 18-year-old like bases their personality on, trying to be like one of these characters, and it's like it's just weird.
Let me see. Does somebody have a letterbox list of movie posters you would find in a college dorm? Because
Scarface.
This better be on there.
Is that a list we need to start?
Oh, here we go. There is one. The college dorm poster project. Or should I do the cliched posters that hang in a college dorm?
Cliched posters for sure.
Okay. So what movies did I list? Fight Club.
You said Fight Club?
Okay, yep, that's on the list. Oh, Dylan, you're wrong. The Dark Knight, not Joker. Just hasn't gotten there yet. You just wait.
It's too new. It's too new. But there are, again, the people who are like, I associate with Heath Ledger's Joker, and I'm edgy and cool. It's like,
just want to watch the world burn, All right, so I agree with part of this list. We got Pulp Fiction, The Dark Knight, Boondock Saints, Casablanca, Donnie Darko, La La Land, Reservoir Dogs, The Thing, Fight Club, but then it gets into like a Clockwork Orange, but then it's like Avengers, Infinity War, High School Musical, Logan, and then Star Wars.
I guess if you're thinking about like, take with a grain of salt, we started college a decade ago plus.
Mm-hmm.
So like no one had Avengers Infinity War stuff because it didn't exist.
Oh no. This other list got me. I did have a Train Spotting poster in our dorm.
I will say there was one on there that you listed that I don't remember ever seeing in a dorm room. I don't think I ever saw like cliche like Casablanca. I don't remember seeing as like a big.
No, I'm sure
What
Hitchcock's
was the one?
dorm room was like that.
Oh well, I mean, come on. What's the other? There was one that you said right before Casablanca that I don't remember.
Boondock Saints.
I think by the time, so I think Boondock Saints hits that pre us. Because I don't know a lot of people. I don't know a lot of people our age who are really into the Boondock Saints, but my brother was super into it, and I know other people his age were super into it.
This other one has a lot more movies, but Scarface, Rocky, Godfather, Matrix, V for Vendetta, The Big Lebowski.
I just remember being stopped. Okay, story time. I don't remember if we'd been. I'm pretty sure we had been drinking. We were walking back from, I want to say Jimmy John's. Maybe we weren't drinking. Maybe we were just sober and fucking with this guy. This guy stopped us and was trying to get us like to join this political rally he was trying to throw. And all of a sudden, Patrick just starts talking about like, yeah, man, we'll get some Guy Fawkes masks. You know, the 5th of November is coming up. And this dude just got so into it and kept trying to like get us to go to this thing that he just decided to throw. It
Oh my
was
God.
the weirdest thing. To the point where like this dude fully believed that we were going to show up at this whatever freaking place it was.
Oh God.
It's like what? What? Can we just leave? This dude's this dude's edgy and creepy, and I don't like it.
All that to say, I do like this movie. I just feel like it is not necessarily stereotyped, but it falls in a category that sometimes rubs me the wrong way.
I could see that, and I would agree with you. I think I and it's happens for a lot of things, right? I always think there's with most things a very vocal minority of a fandom that make it cringy or like hard to enjoy for other people who enjoy it.
Yeah, like you get the people who
I'll be
are
honest.
like,
I'll be honest. Huge Batman fan here, right?
mm-hmm.
There are people with the Dark Knight that I'm just like I enjoyed it. Didn't think it was God's gift to cinema. And there are people who act like it that make me just dislike it. Like I'm like at this point now you guys have made me dislike this movie more like than actually whether or not I would sit down and watch it and be like that was really good or that was really bad. In my mind it has a stigma around it now because there's people who, and let's be honest, most of them probably didn't read a comic book until after the movie came out, but watched the movie and were like, oh man, this is exactly what Batman is. And this is how everyone should view X, Y, and Z characters. It's like, no, there's 80 years worth of stuff that you can base your opinion on, and you've ruined it. You've ruined the movie. Congratulations, you edgelord motherfuckers.
So I don't remember when I saw this. I either saw it in high school or like early college. Like knowing about the movie and so it's like when I seeked out, like I didn't just like chance upon it. So I'm kind of interested to hear your thoughts first, Ben, of like what you thought of the movie.
So I'm kind of proud of myself because I've known about this movie for a really long time. And by know about, I mean I know Jake Gyllenhaal and you know the name of the movie and that like it was a big kind of like indie, because it was like more of an indie film and it's something about a fucking rabbit. Like I've heard of the movie, I've seen like pictures and that, but I've done a good job of staying away from knowing almost anything else about it. So I somehow managed to go into this almost blind. I'm still confused, I guess. Like I have a theory, but I don't know if it's like what's actually happening. I don't know that the guy who wrote it really knows what's going on. I think he kind of left it in like an open-ended, where I did see, so they made a sequel to it, but the original writer-director was not involved.
The sequel is awful.
But now he is involved in working on a sequel. So I'm guessing they're just gonna like they're gonna
Retcon.
what? Yeah, what is it? They're gonna what franchise just it? They're gonna Halloween this bitch where like whatever just happened doesn't count. None of it actually happened. So we're just going back to like part 3. We're gonna pick up from there. None of what you saw was real, and we're just gonna pretend it doesn't exist. I think Scream did the same thing, if I'm not mistaken.
I haven't seen the newest one. I'd be interested to...
I haven't either. I want to check it out. But anywho, a lot of movies that are coming out now that are like retconning and just kind of picking and choosing what they want to believe. But anywho, I digress. I watched this movie and I knew about the whole Frank thing. I didn't realize that you ever saw a real guy's face. I thought the whole creepy rabbit thing was just like, that's just what he looked like. He's some sort of creepy rabbit. I definitely thought it was going to be more... I didn't expect as much sci-fi, I guess. I expected a lot more like psychological thriller / just kind of eerie to the entire movie, which it was. I mean, it was kind of creepy. I guess I was expecting more like split personality type breakdown. Where like, yeah, Frank is the imaginary friend, and I mean, at no point was there really like the shock of like, oh, he's surprise, it's him. I didn't really also expect like there was no point where I thought like, oh, this is gonna be kind of a mystery. Would have been cool, though. How cool would it have been if the whole time Donnie's dealing with this, he's not actually the one who's doing any of it? Like, it's one of those things where, like, he thinks he is, but it's really Seth Rogen and the other kid.
Oh, my God.
Oh, how good of a movie would that have been? How many people listen to this podcast? I need to know, because if I write this movie, I want them to not know what's going on. I don't want this to be linked back. So listeners out there, keep this hush hush in case this movie ever gets made. But yeah, I did not expect the whole like sci-fi time portal. I didn't think it was going to end up being real.
Is it real though?
I don't know. I guess let's dive into that.
That's the big question. I think.
Was it real? Was it that it was all just like and if I guess my thing is if it's make believe, whose make believe was it?
Well, Donnie's supposedly like schizophrenic, I think, right?
Yeah, but okay, so let's say the events of the movie into the ending, Donnie's not alive. Major spoiler alert, Donnie fucking died.
Well, I mean, that could just be like one of the realities that he, is like seeing in this like schizophrenia. I don't know. I'm kind of a firm believer in the like straightforward sense of so the plot of the movie is like a plane, like a turbine falls from the sky from a mysterious plane that we don't know into Donnie's bedroom, but he's not in the bedroom and he avoids this fate, and that leads to a wormhole happening. And he meets Frank, this man in a bunny costume, who tells him when the world is going to end. And then Donnie kind of like goes through this rabbit hole of finding out about finding out about like wormholes and like that there's time travel, and that like he also sees those weird tubes that come out of people. That part really doesn't make sense to me.
It seemed like like he was tripping.
Yeah.
Like I think to me it was like, how do we explain that this kid is like taking stuff for his schizophrenia and it messes with him? And like I feel like that's I will say it is very well layered in terms of like what actually is happening and like what it's the idea of the untrustworthy narrator, right?
Yeah.
Now, I think, and maybe it's just because it's the hot thing right now. It's the whole multiverse type thing. So maybe that's what he's seeing in the portal. Is like, you know, maybe it's instead of the future. Or it could still be the future, but it's like an alternate timeline. I don't know. I don't know. But some of it, so much of it, kind of just like circles around. Where like, you know, Frank is actually Maggie Gyllenhaal's like boyfriend that he shoots in the face at the end of the movie, which like makes sense now why his eyes all screwed up. I don't know. I don't know what the end was supposed to mean. If there's actually supposed to be some sort of wormhole, if it's like a time loop, if it's an alternate dimension, an alternate timeline, if it's just the ramblings of a madman. I do think that it was kind of cool. I liked some of like the illusion stuff that they went to with like the short story they read, kind of alluding to like the burning the house down and
Oh yeah,
why did they do it, yada yada yada. And then that's kind of what Donnie does.
yeah.
Um,
Well, and then there's the thing that they read in the health class, and it's like, oh, he finds the guy's wallet, and he returns it to him without any money in it, and he finds Jim Calhoun's wallet.
yeah,
There is a lot of like foreshadowing and like symbolism. Like
yeah,
I was reading something and I was talking about like all the different like rabbit symbolism and stuff. Like at one point there's like a Volkswagen rabbit that drives by. There's God, oh, the Echo and the Bunnymen song, which tied back to last week, our episode on the Lost Boys. There was a Echo and the Bunnymen cover of The Doors, and then we get Killing Moon in this movie. But I think it's straightforward in my viewpoint. I think it is in my opinion. I feel like it's Donnie realizes, because they kind of discussed this at one point, that like, oh, I can't think of the exact quote, but it's basically like, if time travel does exist, or like if all of these alternate universes exist, like would you go back in time to like fix people's, or like say like make somebody happy? I forget what the exact line is. And I think it's part of that thought process where like the ending is Donnie figures out how to do the time travel or these wormholes and goes back and dies to fix everything.
that's what I kind of took it to mean. It's like he lives through this, and it's like the end. I guess the end of the world more so is really
The
just the
end
end of
of his world, yeah.
his world. And at the time that's why I feel like too you kind of see him like staring off towards the wormhole. It's really bright. It's really for the first time in the movie, I think, once he's kind of made the decision that that's what he's going to do, everything's a little bit brighter, and the palette is a little bit lighter, and he kind of makes that decision to like, I guess he makes the decision to sacrifice himself to save his mom, his sister, his girlfriend, all of these people. I guess the bad thing though is that Patrick Swayze's character still gets away with being a scumbag in this new universe.
Yeah. Well, maybe he's
Also,
not a pedophile in that one. Who knows? We'll see.
the whole thing about that did not make sense to me.
What, that like when he burned it down, they discovered all this other stuff?
No,
Oh,
no, the whole like fear, love, weird cult thing that all of a sudden we're allowed to go ahead and preach about in schools, but like, I don't know, just that was weird to me. It felt like the writer slash director making a comment on something, but just trying to loop it in with the rest of it, and it should have been its own separate thing. I feel like.
I don't know. I feel like just everything leans that like to the straightforward answer, because even after like at the end, like Gretchen doesn't know him. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think I will say, um, Is this like one of Jake Gyllenhaal's first movies that he did, or?
Let me see. I've got his. I mean, I'm on IMDb. I can pull up his credits here. I don't think it was the first one because I feel like October Sky would have came out before this one.
Yes, it did.
So his first movie was City Slickers in '91. Then it looks like a lot of smaller stuff, mostly kind of TV type work. And then October Sky in '99. This movie in 2001. Bubble Boy in 2001, and then his career kind of started to take off from there.
Yeah, I could see how like this movie would, set him off, in like October Sky, because I don't know, he just seems very young in this, and like kind of kills it in my opinion. I think Jake Gyllenhaal's performance really carries the movie. I mean, obviously because it's pretty much just about him. Like I feel like there's all these other characters, but it kind of just like centers, like he's the center of the universe in the story, so to say. Like other people are
Yeah,
introduced, but he is the thing that everyone revolves around. Because no one else is like, there's never another scene where he's not in it. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly.
I think there are like a couple that are, but not a lot. Not a lot. What's so interesting to me that I think makes Jake Gyllenhaal such an interesting and like talented actor is like the way he, like in this movie. So in this movie, he doesn't really blink when he's in like his weird like psychosis. Like he's very like always eyes open, not really blinking a lot. And then it's so crazy that like 20 years later when does Prisoners, he makes a note to make sure like he's blinking
More than normal.
more than normal. Like I feel like that's something most people, actors, non-actors, just don't even think about. He's just like, man, I feel like the use of how much or how little I blink will say so much about the character. And it does. It's noticeable. It's something you actually do pick up on. But I would never think about it when making a decision about how to play a character. Like, that's just insane that that's something he was thinking about. Even at this point where, I mean, he's 21 when this movie comes out, so he's probably 20 when he's filming it.
Yeah. His parents are famous, right?
Um, are they?
Yeah, his dad. His dad was a director,
Ah, yes, Stephen Gyllenhaal.
and his mother was a producer and screenwriter. So
That checks out.
I was gonna say, I'm sure there's some nepotism there. Usually, when like your
You've got,
whole family is actors, it's
yeah, yeah, that tends to be the case.
besides like the Phoenix family. I'm pretty sure they're not like Joaquin and River,
I don't know.
but yeah, I mean that's like the Skarsgård. Like there's a million of those, and they're all actors.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess now, like maybe like the Hemsworths would be in that same vein, where they're like not from famous parents, but then it was like one of them got famous, and then
And then the others, they're like, oh god, there's more.
it
Of
was
them.
like,
Bring them
oh,
in.
wait, there's more. There's more. What if we wanted one of them, but we couldn't afford him? He's got a brother.
I feel like the nepotism is going away slightly. Maybe not. I don't know. It's still kind of prevalent.
I think it. I think nepotism is a lot more now in influencers and like social media
Yeah, there's like
than
what's her name?
nepotism with
Haley
with
Bieber.
actors and her. What's the one? The is it Kaya Gerber? Isn't her mom like super famous? Isn't her mom like another supermodel?
I thought you were gonna say her family owns Gerber.
No, I think. Well, maybe her on her dad's side. Maybe her mom married
It's like what's his face?
a rich person.
Army Hammer.
Yeah, her mom is literally. Yeah, her mom is Cindy Crawford.
Ah, okay, yeah. I did see this. This movie made Empire's made number 2 on Empire's 50 greatest independent films,
Yeah, yeah, I saw that too.
which
Um,
is pretty crazy. Because this dude Richard Kelly like literally did nothing else besides this, pretty much. I know he did like Southland's Tales, but other than that, he's kind of just been chilling.
yeah, I was kind of shocked to see that he hadn't really done much else besides this. I want to look at that list though and see. I'm curious to see
I
what
got
other.
I got it pulled up. Number 1 is Reservoir Dogs, Donnie Darko, The Terminator, Clerks, Life of Brian, Night of the Living Dead, Sex Lives and Videotape, The Usual Suspects, Sideways, Mean Streets. That's the top 10.
Huh.
I mean, this list is
Now
fucking.
see,
This list is bussin', though. Let me tell you.
this one, I feel like they definitely update this list every however often. Because this one I'm looking at now has it listed differently. But yeah, it is a pretty insane fucking list. I will say this movie is just. It is one of those ones that it seems like they leave it vague and confusing so that people will continuously talk about it. And I hate it.
You
I
hate
hate when movies.
you hate open
I
endings.
hate when movies do that. Just give me an ending. Tell me you are the creator. You are the storyteller. What is your, or you know what? Even if you don't, but like, I guess maybe I need to do my research and see if he ever did. What was it ever really? Did Richard Kelly ever really come out and say like what the ending is or was?
I'm not sure.
Like to him?
I know they did a director's cut.
Because that's the thing, right? Like, I can, yeah, cool. I can make up whatever my. What do I think it was? You know, what is the picture of Jack Nicholson on the wall in The Shining? What does it mean at the end? Was he always there? Is he always been the bad guy? It's like no. Someone someone put their effort into telling the story. Finish the fucking story.
I think one of the things that makes this movie unique is like, I'm reading this Mashable. Somebody wrote an article basically about like why this movie fits, like finally fits for our times. But I think they like, I'm reading and I'm like, you know what? I do think like the nihilism within this film is one of those things that just kind of like stuck with people. Like it's not like this sugar coated kind of Hollywood film. It's kind of like life kind of sucks. I just watched Welcome to the Dollhouse, which is this indie film from like '95. Also went to Sundance and won, but it's basically like similar idea of like it's like a middle schooler and she's like bullied and her parents don't like her and she wants to get back and like stop being bullied by like dating this person who's like the lead singer of like their garage band or whatever. And that movie and this movie kind of stick with me in that way of like the scenes that they show of like high school are like kind of realistic and like there's like bullies and like it has this kind of like depressing look on life, and that's like sometimes how life is, like it's not always like a Hollywood film, it's not like and I think that's why, same with like some of these other movies that we talked about that were like, the dorm room poster and the film bros, or like same with Fight Club, it's very nihilistic film. Same with The Dark Knight, it's like, oh, like I don't care about the money, I'm just gonna burn it, like it's this like idea of like, I don't know, like it kind of like shows like some more realism in the sense, even though this is a sci-fi film, like you get that like sense of like, hey, like, I can see some of the things that I think or I go through in life in this movie.
I think this movie does a good job too of like the family dynamic isn't like this perfect you know, they're. I think they do a good job of kind of like showing the typical family. They're not the Bradys, but they're also not like over the top. Sometimes when they try to make families and movies seem real, they go too far and it doesn't play well in a movie. Like I feel like this did a good job of kind of finding that balance. I will say it was kind of weird at the end when after Donnie dies that his mom's like not crying, she's just like standing there smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, I thought that was
Like
weird
the
too.
like Maggie Gyllenhaal's character is like sitting there like literally like standing there looking dumbfounded and crying. The dad and the little sister are like crying and the mom's just like standing there like against the tree smoking a cigarette.
But the mom was kind of the one that fought with him the most, so maybe it's kind of like a good riddance kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Also, it was weird to me. So, Donnie seemed like the kid who wasn't really involved with much at the school,
Yeah.
just from a personal point of view. Who thought it was a good idea as a punishment to suspend him from after school activities that he's not involved in? What a punishment. I feel like that's one where like the principal was like, you know what, in all honesty, the kid's probably right, but I have to appease this teacher, so like we'll give him something. So let's give him the most non-punishment punishment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also think this was like a big, I don't know. I feel like they were trying to make a lot of points about a lot of things, like the whole thing of like private school education, where it's just like we can teach. How do we say we're teaching religion without teaching religion? And then it's like, well, let's make it this cult thing about fear and love, and where on the line you fall. It's like, all right, this is. Also, then she was like the gym teacher.
I think it was like health.
Okay, because I remember someone saying you remember the gym teacher.
Mm. Okay. So she's like, because on the
I
whiteboard,
could have sworn.
on the whiteboard at one point it does say like health. So maybe it's just like a gym and health kind of thing. Because those are
Oh, I'm
usually
sorry.
grouped together.
Physical education.
Yes.
My bad.
I always love reading like movie articles or like kind of like thought pieces or where they like dive into it. I mean, I kind of agree, I guess, on this, but like those Rolling Stone articles talking about Donnie Darko, I was like, by now, watching Donnie Darko is like a rite of passage for young people everywhere. It's up there with discovering bands like Radiohead or rappers like Odd Future. As formative adolescent experiences, it offers a vessel for a specific kind of teenage anxiety. This is what I said. For millennials and more urgently for Gen Z, there's a keen awareness that the world might end at a moment's notice, that there's something deeply unstable about the prevailing status quo. The generation born into a fraught promise of social mobility can find some element of the movie to graft their own feelings onto. I'm grateful that it's connected with a younger generation, Kelly says.
Yeah, it's good that the movie's continues to find an audience, but also just I don't know that it's a movie you want like connect. I don't know that it's a movie you want people connecting with.
Yeah, I mean that's like Joker. We were talking about
Yeah.
earlier. It's like you don't want to be the main character. He's not a good guy. Same with Donnie. Donnie's not a good guy. Like he burned somebody's house down.
No.
He like
He burns two people's house down.
oh true, he did get in trouble
He does
earlier.
it twice. Yeah, he does a lot of shit that's like people should not view this as a good person. Yeah, it's clear that he has some demons, some issues, but not really an excuse for arson and destruction of property.
All right, here you go, Ben. Here's your probably vague explanation from Richard Kelly. Still, what the hell is Donnie Darko about? He says, I look at the events in the film as a story of divine and supernatural intervention, where a select group of characters happen to be living in the proximity of this science fiction event. Okay, got it. That is much clearer. But does Donnie Darko really die at the end? He said, I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a lot more to this story if you look at it both through a prism of science fiction and the logical reaction to the events presented. That is not to take away any interpretation that people have of the film, which I think is valid because the way it's engineered, you can have any interpretation you want of the first 90% of the movie. It says, yep, totally. So where is Donnie? In my mind, the filmmaker replies, the last 10% of the movie is the reality of what carries forward, but there's plenty more to discuss. So,
Is this man now a politician? Because that was the most words I've ever heard to not answer a fucking question.
I mean, the dude wrote this movie when he was like 21, so like, I'm sure he was like, this shit's gonna fucking rock.
But guess what? You wrote the fucking movie. So just tell me what the ending is. Tell me. Or when you make this goddamn sequel, it better explain it.
Man, really the last 10% of this movie is just fucking batshit. When they leave the party to go to like Grandma Death's house or whatever, and then the fucking the two kids are there like robbing her house, and fucking the girl gets ran over by the car, and then Frank is shot in the face, and then like honestly the last 10% of the movie is just like a what the fuck is going on.
I think the what the fuck is going on starts when oh god, I'm so bad at remembering names. It's a problem.
Which character?
When you're watching a movie and you're like, I should really remember who this is.
Gretchen?
Okay, it is Gretchen. I was gonna say Gretchen, and I'm like, I'm gonna say this and be wrong, and I don't want to sound like an idiot. When Gretchen shows up at the house party, it's like, my mom's gone.
Yeah, and then they like...
And then it's just like, so let's bang it out. Like, what? That's the response to this? Not a good look, my man. Not a good look.
I mean, I think she's also kind of odd. Like, I think she's also got something going on. And I mean, maybe it's just that her life has been rough, but like...
I was going to say it's probably the fact that she's gone through a shit ton of trauma in her life, but...
Like, her and Donnie's relationship, like, they're literally just, like, talked for, like, a few minutes, and then they're like, yo, you want to go steady? Sure. Walks away. Okay, all right, what? Don't kiss me. I want it to be, like, a special moment. And then it was, like at the school after she, like, got made fun of for her dad stabbing her mom. It's like, what?
I thought it was weird that they never exchanged phone numbers, which, like, for early 2000s, like, that's how you kept in touch.
Well, the movie's set in the 80s. Because it's, like, Reagan and Dukakis.
Oh, that's true. It's Bush and Dukakis.
Or, sorry, Bush and Dukakis, my bad.
Yeah, I forget about that. The fact that they're running, so it would be, yeah. Okay, because all
the music is, like, the 80s as well, with, like, Echo and the Bunnymen, Tears for Fears, Duran Duran, Joy Division.
Even then, why did you not get that person's phone number?
Well, yeah, you don't have to have it. They
just moved. They're not in the phone book, Dylan. The phone book doesn't just magically update every time someone new moves in. There's no internet. You can't just Google their phone number.
The other thing that's weird to me is the scenes where, like, Donnie does these things. And maybe that's part of his, like, mental instability that he has. Like with when Jim Calhoun comes to the school and is, like, doing his thing, and then he stands up and, like, gets on the mic and just starts to go off. And then, like, everyone's like, yeah! Like, I'm like, did that really happen? Is he imagining things? Or, like...
It seems like one of those where, like, someone posts on Reddit and then everybody cheered.
The other one is like in that health class when he's like I just don't get the point of this thing. Everything is not love and hate or love and fear. It's I'm like I don't know. It is an odd film to watch.
It, yes, very much so. It is kind of odd in that sense. Okay, did you notice the kid that stands up and talks about like being bullied is the same kid that was in the video earlier that they showed in the health class?
No.
I'm like, is this kid straight up a plant in the audience?
That's what I would say.
I think it was.
Oh my god. What if they all were? What if Ashley Tisdale was also a
I
plant?
mean, no, if I had to guess, it was probably more so that like the budget was low and it was like we need a kid and he's already here, so just keep him and change his outfit and we'll have him do this. But it also wouldn't. The fact that the character is supposed to be kind of sleazy kind of checks out that would happen. That like he would be like, "Hey, you're gonna be in the school, and we're gonna make this look so I look really good." I did read in the trivia section too that Patrick Swayze's clothes were all his own that he had from the 1980s.
I saw that at one. I forget where I saw that, but I did read that. Did you read
That's
the
pretty
number?
dope.
Did you read the first trivia thing? That's like at the rap party.
About
Seth Rogen and Jake Gyllenhaal said they didn't know what the movie was about.
I made me feel better about being kind of confused about what was going on. Although let's be honest, even then Seth Rogen was probably stoned out of his mind. I can't do his laugh. Do a good Seth Rogen.
It's awful. You don't have to. You don't have to do it.
I feel like I need to learn it.
It's when. So Hannah and I were like, "Oh my god, I can't wait till Isla laughs." Like it's gonna be so cute. And I'm like, what if she just has the stupidest laugh? Like, if my child has Seth Rogen's laugh, that would be awful.
Wow, okay. This is interesting. So, well out of his teens, Vince Vaughn reportedly turned down the part of Donnie due to his age. Mark Wahlberg was interested, but apparently was only willing to play the part with a lisp.
What?
Jason Schwartzman was also strongly considered, but dropped out due to scheduling conflicts.
That would have been
Tim
interesting.
Robbins was the first choice for the role of Eddie, the dad. And Mara Wilson, who was Matilda, was considered for the role of Samantha, but she turned it down.
Ben hadn't seen this movie, and I had, so you'll get a fresh rating from Ben and a nostalgia updated rating from me. So Ben, let's hear it. What did you think?
All right. My wife said, quote, this seems like a movie that hipsters love. Not going to argue with her. She watched 5 minutes of the movie. She's not wrong. That being said, it's a good movie. I didn't love it. It wasn't what I was expecting going into it. Again, I'm proud of myself after 22 years of this movie being out, and the fact that I knew it was like one of those big kind of like cult classic movies that I knew very little to nothing about it going into it. That said, I don't like when movies do the thing where they leave things ambiguous and confusing, and sometimes it seems like they do it for the sake of doing it. It's just not my thing. I like things to be wrapped up, or I'm the type of person that likes to look for the... sometimes when things are left open, and that's it. Sometimes when they wrap things up, you get to rewatch it, and when you rewatch it, you pick up on things that you're like, oh, I never noticed that. But
Yeah.
It completely makes sense to what the ending is. I want this movie to be that so much more than this shit of like, well, is he dead? Oh, I don't know. Everyone's interpretation is right. No. It's dark. It is a creepy movie. I will say it's not like This isn't a movie I feel like you just kind of pop on to have a good time. This is a sit down kind of think type movie. Oh man, I'm really torn between two. I'm gonna go 6.5. I'm between a 6 and a 7. I'm gonna give it a 6.5. Jake Gyllenhaal is incredibly talented. The fact that he did this at the age of, I just read something, 19 when they filmed this.
Dang.
Fuck you for being that talented. All right, all right. Fuck you. He's really good. He's really good. All of the cast is good in this. There was never really a moment where I was watching this movie. I think outside of Seth Rogen, which had nothing to do with Seth Rogen's acting, and more to do with the holy shit, is that Seth Rogen?
It's Seth Rogen
of it. I think it's the fact that he went from like background character to now of really, I think the cast of this movie is probably what, like maybe the second or third most famous one of the cast.
Yeah.
I think you talk Jake Gyllenhaal, maybe Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Patrick Swayze?
Yeah, I guess I would agree with that. But my thing is that in terms of today, if you were to ask like a teenager today, now that Patrick Swayze's been gone for almost maybe more than a decade, were we in college when he died, or were we in high school?
I'm not sure.
I want to say he died right around 2012.
That seems right.
So yeah, I mean, if you were to ask like people younger than us, they might not have any idea who Patrick Swayze is. Also, it just popped into my mind, what a crazy coincidence. Did you know they're making a new Roadhouse movie?
No.
They're rebooting it.
Rebooting?
Do you know who's playing the part of Patrick Swayze's character?
Jake Gyllenhaal?
You're damn right.
Wow. I've never seen the original
small
Roadhouse.
world we live in.
Next week.
I love Roadhouse. I freaking love that movie. Anywho, I digress. Yeah, I think Seth Rogen being... Okay, then you could argue between 2 and 4. Again, I think he's super recognizable, and you just... The fact that even at that point, I don't even know if he'd maybe done Freaks and Geeks. Just kind of took me out of it. But otherwise, everyone was really good. There was no point where I was just like, this person's not really locked in. I just subjectively, it wasn't for me. That said, if you're into movies like that are kind of open-ended and you've probably watched it if you came back and... Or not came back, but if you listened to the podcast and listened to us talk about all the spoilers, you've probably already seen it. If not, give it a watch. See if it's something you enjoy. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sitting here saying I regretted watching it. It's just not a movie I think I need to watch again in the near future.
Going in, I thought very highly of this movie. Probably have it at like... probably say like a 9 out of 10. I think I saw it like high school, early college, like I said earlier, and I have not seen it since then. I will say, upon rewatching it, not necessarily fell back in love, but like remembered how good this movie was. I'm gonna leave it at a 9 out of 10. I do really enjoy this film a lot, even after calling it the Film Bro movie. You know, sometimes I can be a film bro. I like all the movies I would describe those people liking. So I think, therefore, I am, as they say.
A film bro. I think a film bro said that. I think he quoted that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, once again, like, you know, we've done other movies on this podcast. We did House. You know, we did Heathers. Like, I like weird shit. So the fact that like this movie, it is just like a not necessarily a mess, but like it's like an organized mess. It's nihilistic. Jake Gyllenhaal kills it, and the soundtrack is bussin'. I like a lot of 80s new wave music, post punk, so the soundtrack keeps me entertained. The movie keeps me entertained. I would recommend this one. And I think it's one of those ones that after you watch it, you're going to sit back and you're going to be like, damn, that movie was something, right? And you're going to sit and you're going to think about it. And that's the thing that I want from a movie. I want something where I'm going to sit back, think about what I just watched for the next 30 plus minutes, and then I'm going to be like, damn, maybe I should watch that again. Let me get a second viewing so I understand that more. And that's why I do like the open ending bin. Sometimes it's cheap, though. I will say sometimes it's cheap.
Look, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's not for me.
That's fair.
Different strokes for different folks, you know?
If you enjoyed this, don't forget to rate and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram at Cocktails and Classics Pod. Go enter the giveaway. It's the last couple days. Do it now. Hit up the show notes. Make yourself a Dark and Stormy. Hit up the caster links to get that alcohol delivered directly to your door. And share us with your friends and family. As always, watch responsibly.